Jim Winston here at DB Fine Wines in New Canaan. And we have a tasting flight today that speaks to diversity. And I have been a major promoter of the idea of wine for diversity. When we think of that, we think about different countries, different varietals. But today we're going to be looking at a different type of diversity, and it's the situations, diversity of situations. And it's the same reason why on a given day, if you're on the golf course and if you're right here and you're that far away from the green, you're going to take out a club that's specific and you're thinking about the situation of the lie. And if you were here tomorrow and it's the same place and Lord, you got to take out a different club. The situation has changed. You're facing into the wind. So it's situations that demand different types of approaches to wine, in addition to the interest that you have in the different areas of wine locations and different varietals. And so what I've done is I've sort of broken it down to this way. There are times when you want to savor wine because you're with someone who really enjoys great wine. And this doesn't mean it's on Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve. It can be February 15th. It can be any number of days, any time of the day, when in fact this is the time when it's fun to open up a beautiful, beautiful wine. So we're going to call this a list. And so we're going to begin with a sparkling wine, a red wine, and a white wine through these four categories. We're going to begin with a French champagne from a small producer, Mouzon Leroux. I just did this wine at a Grower's Champagne tasting I hosted a couple of weeks back, and I will tell you something, it finished in the money and I love the wine. That's why it's here. A 2016 Brunello is the red wine that's featured in this part, and then we're going to follow it with a white Burgundy that we had at a Chardonnay tasting that I also love. So if we take a step back from that, then if we're going to look at the other three ideas of breaking down the situation, I think of it as weekend, weekday, and then it's a party, it's a gathering. So what's the difference between weekday and weekend? Well, some of it might have to do with price, certainly that's it. But I'm thinking on a weekend, perhaps we're looking at sitting down to a dinner where there's more thought to what's being served, a higher elevation of dining, and you want to have a wine that would sort of go alongside, in concert with a recipe that might be very special. Where on a weekday, we're looking at the leftovers from the weekend, or we're looking at more comfort foods, things that are more to enjoy more casually. And then party and gathering, well, that's self-explanatory. So when we go to the weekend, we're looking at, and this is an unusual sparkling wine. It's coming from Spain, and it's a sparkling Riesling. Let's just do, there it is. And I've done this wine several times in other tastings, and it's lights out. It's fantastic. This is a new wine for me. It's called Parti Pris, and it comes from the Languedoc in the south of France, and it's a Pinot Noir. So it's not a Pinot Noir that's coming from Burgundy, or it's not a Pinot Noir that's in Sancerre. It's coming from the south. It's different, and I love having a wine like this to present. I haven't tasted it, and I just tasted it just beforehand, and the wine is really an amazing expression of Pinot Noir. And then we're going to follow with the Macon Village for on the white side, and it's a wine also that I had at our great Chardonnay tasting, so I'm quite comfortable with slotting it here. Then we have four wines, and I'll explain that in a second. We have a weekday, and we're going to begin with Monticello Prosecco, which is hands down my favorite Prosecco, and has been for several years. I put it into tastings as often as I can. Why? Because quite simply it's the best Prosecco I've ever had, and it's a vintage Prosecco. When it got to the red selection here, Dave and I spoke about it. I couldn't decide between two different reds that I love equally well, but they're very different, so we decided to put both in. This is Moulin de Seine. It's the second label for Chateau de Seine and Margaux. And we're going to also put in a Zinfandel made by Peterson. It's primary Zin, and it is fun and delicious. And yes, two different styles of wine on the red side for the weekday. And then on the white, Courchevenir. It is a wine from the Loire, and it's fun to look at a white wine from the Loire that's not Sauvignon Blanc. I've done that at tastings before. That's why it's here. I love it. And then when we get to party time, we do a Crémant of Burgundy, and it's fun to have sparkling wine, even if it's not something that you're thinking about in terms of fancy dinners or fancy toast. Open up a sparkling wine. People are coming in. Why not? And then this wine, John Wade Cabernet on the red side. It is as friendly a red as there is. It's a type of red that even if you have someone who likes white wine, prefers white wine, they're going to dig that wine. Beautiful, beautiful soft fruit. And we're going to finish with a wine made by Grant Long, and it's Vista Sauvignon Blanc. And so you have 3 wines to open up for Super Bowl Sunday, or whenever you have a gathering. These are the fun wines. So there it is, my approach to diversity in terms of situation. Thank you very much.